Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, the content that we're going to talk about on this episode of Bullet Points is one that caught my interest. Now, are you guys aware, according to this article and its author, that the entire problem for the issue with the gun violence in this country is Republican greed? Not individual decisions, not responsibility, not defunding the police, not the rise in crime, none of those things. It's Republican greed. I know, sounds a little stupid. It is. We're going to dive into it. I'm going to walk you through this article, and then I'm going to show you how bad this is going to be debunked in about 2 minutes. Everything's going to be linked in the description box below. I cannot wait to hear from you guys on this one. I'm going to say a quick word from our sponsor who made this video possible, and then we are going to hit it, and I cannot wait to hear from your thoughts on this one because this is pretty low-hanging fruit, at least in my opinion. Now, have you ever wanted to learn more about gunsmithing, firearms repair, or shooting sports management? Enroll in one of SDI's online programs or courses to take your hobby to the next level. Payment plans and funding options are available. Check out the link in the description box below and visit sdi.edu for more information. And thank you to SDI for making this video possible. Now, guys, I'm going to do a quick little overview of this, and I'm going to keep this in mind the whole time to kind of add some color to this argument. The Democratic split in the Senate is 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans, with the tiebreaker, Kamala Harris. They have the ability, if every single Democrat votes for something, to pass it. Without question, that is the situation. But it's Republican greed. That's where it gets very, very interesting. And before we get going, make sure you follow on Twitter at BradenLOA because apparently Twitter's free and we be tweeting over here. So let's get into this article because I can't wait to see you guys on there as well. Opinion. Republican greed is fueling American gun violence. Okay, not inflammatory at all, but let's see what they're about because it's going to be debunked right now. We have a gun violence problem in the United States, and one of the pieces to this destructive equation is Republican greed. Now, it's interesting when you tie in the greed piece because I'm used to them blaming Republicans, right? But how do you get to that greed piece? Also, obfuscating the idea that Democrats have complete control. And yet they're still not passing it. H.R. 8 and 1446 are languishing in the Senate. It's because they can't get Democrats across the board. But we can't talk about that because that would imply something's wrong with us. It's Republican greed that is the fault. There were 10 situations across the United States last week in which 3 were high profile. Over the Easter weekend, 9 teens were shot and 2 were killed while attending a party with over 200 people in attendance at an Airbnb in Pittsburgh. No suspects are in custody. So right there, I want you to really pay attention to what they do. They don't say any details. They don't say the fact that it was an underage party. They don't say the fact that it was illegal ownership of guns. They don't say it was Airbnb where there was complete ban of any firearms on that property. They don't say any of those things. They only use the broad topic for the hit of the point. That's all they do. And the next one. There was also a shooting at a mall in Columbia, South Carolina, where 12 people were injured. Well, did they mention there that there was 2 opposing entities shooting at each other and there were targets behind that got hit? Both terrible situations, but it's not exactly like they represent it here because they're trying to go for the punch, even though it's disingenuous. This is where the manipulation comes in and why we always go down this road. And of course, you've got New York, which I can't talk about because that's a little too spicy for the situation we're on. Now, this is where it gets into the Republicans. Republicans continue to block gun reform legislation. After the shooting in New York City, Mayor Eric Adams said gun violence isn't a red or blue state issue, it's a national issue, which is true. This year alone, we've seen a total of 139 situations, a 66% increase since 2019. Now I'm going to ask you a question. 1, do you guys remember hearing about 139 situations? Enough so there'd be a 66% increase, which is astronomical statistically. Or do you happen to remember that's when they changed the definition of a situation or you know what I'm talking about. When you change the definition, all of a sudden the statistics are off the chart. Again, you didn't hear about 139, did you? No, because that's coming from Gun Violence Archive. And it's really disingenuous and gross, but let's keep going. However, with red states leading a higher murder rates and Republicans blocking meaningful gun reform, we certainly have right-wing politicians to point a finger at and why we can't get a grip on this problem. Just follow the money and power. Now, what's important here is that hyperlink where it says red states leading with higher murder rates. It's linked down there if you want. It's going to this article. This is not biased at all. The red state murder problem. That really sounds like a logical option to observe what's happening. No, because this is an opinion piece. I can say whatever I want. It's my opinion, even though I'm going to present it as fact. It's really, really important because these people, they're very manipulative and it's kind of gross. But that's why we have bullet points. Oh, let's keep going. And here's another example of bias. According to the Brady campaign, a gun control group, 50 senators have received campaign donations from the NRA. Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell alone has collected more than $1.2 million for them over the course of his career and has a lengthy resume of blocking weapons reform. He's not blocking weapons reform. He's standing up for a Second Amendment. It's a constitutional right. Now, you can call it reform. You can call it overriding, common sense. It doesn't matter how you brand it. The fact is, the NRA is going to put money into politicians that support their views. That's pretty straightforward. That's kind of like being upset at a Democrat for accepting money for Planned Parenthood. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or a union for that matter, because special interests want their interests forwarded. That's kind of the way that it works. Anyway, let's keep going because that's just crap. All right, and this last piece, again, keep in mind, Democrats have full control. Republicans blame Democrats for rising crime, but they're to blame for rising gun violence. Overprotectiveness of the right to bear arms isn't rooted in freedom, it's rooted in greed and currently supersedes other people's rights to live in peace. So my rights are more important than your rights. You can't have this right because I don't like it. And if you are for protecting that right, you're just being overprotective and you are superseding all the rights that we have as a complete population over my rights and needs to be safe. Start focusing on the problem, on the root cause of these issues, and you'll actually get to somewhere. But it's not about that. It's about control and narrative and your ideological viewpoint to be forwarded to get your point across for complete control and abolition of the Second Amendment. That's what this is about. That's why it's so biased, that's why it's so aggressive, and that's why it's total crap. Let me know what you guys think in the comments field below, and I'll see you tonight at the 9 p.m. segment. I'm Braden. See you later.